Hello and welcome back to another out of spec detailing video here from Clear Detailing in Northern Colorado. Next to me here we have a used Rivan R1T, and the Rivans have really been the king of plastics. There's a bunch of this plastic cladding all around the truck, and a lot of these don't look very good, especially when they're used and used properly off-roading or doing whatever. But if not protected, they can fade quite horrendously. So today we're going to be talking about a new product from DIY Detail that I recently just came around to, and this is Restore and Protect. It's a 30 ml ceramic coating bottle, importantly with black dye in it, to really restore your plastic trim back to a factory OEM look. So welcome back and let's jump into this. Well, as you can see from the thumbnail, this Rivan R1T's plastic trim truly looked terrible. So I'm going to take you through all the steps, not only how to protect it, but most importantly, how to clean it. Now up here, I have quite a few different plastic trim coatings that I want to talk about quickly. Now, this has been my absolute go-to. This is C4 Permanent Trim Restorer from Gtechniq. Now, one thing I hate about this product is the use of the word permanent. This is really a 2-year ceramic coating for areas like black plastic trim like this. I've had great success with this stuff, and I typically use this on brand new vehicles that need just a little bit of protection, some UV inhibitors on here, and a ceramic coating that's going to help this black plastic stay black for a longer period of time, as well as clean up a heck of a lot easier. One of the biggest issues with black plastic trim is it's extremely porous, so dirt really gets baked into it. Now, you wouldn't believe it, but all I've done to this Rivan R1T's trim is just clean it. Yet again, I will show you a demonstration on one area of the vehicle of how it looked and then how it's going to finish. We'll get into all of that. Another product that is very similar to C4 Permanent Trim Restorer is over here from Nasiol. This is Trimcoat. I'm going to be testing this and playing around with it just to see if there's anything that I prefer more than Permanent Trim Restorer from Gtechniq. Now, I've been talking quite a bit with Ivan from DIY Detail, doing a lot with our Cybertruck series, and he said, hey, do you mind if I send you some products? There is no need for you to make videos on them. I just want you to try a few things and kind of give me some feedback and tell me what you think. And a lot of the DIY Detail products I've been quite impressed with. So much so that I actually have started to purchase more of these products and become a customer myself. Now, I review products, and if a product doesn't work as intended or I don't like it, I will absolutely tell you so. So today is going to be a little bit of a review of DIY Detail's Restore and Protect. Now, there's quite a few interesting things going on with this product right here. First off, it starts at $59.99 for a 30 ml bottle. Ceramic coatings are expensive, and that is really throughout the detailing industry. If you get coatings from Gtechniq, Geon, whatever it may be, they are all quite expensive. There's one thing though that I really appreciate about the Restore and Protect from DIY Detail here, and that is that it has a black dye in it. So I really think about this product as more of a use case for used vehicles, not necessarily so much new vehicles. Now, I have watched some videos from Ivan, and of course you can use this on brand new vehicles, but in my personal opinion, I would say this is really for a vehicle that's been a little bit neglected, that's been out on the road for a couple of years without any sort of protection. That way you can dye this back to a factory OEM look. Whereas if the vehicle was brand new, I'm probably gonna pick up Nasiol over here if this product actually works great, or I'm going to go back to my C4 Permanent Trim Restorer. But I think this is a very interesting product having some dye in it. Now, I played around with a few of them in the past, and none of them really had the ceramic aspect to them. So the longevity that you're going to get from that, the UV protections. I've tried different trim restorers that are essentially just black dye. They fade after a few months, so I'm really anxious to test this out. And this truck is really the perfect candidate for it. This truck is, I guess, 1.5 years old or so. This is one of the earlier Rivan R1Ts. It was purchased used from one of my customers. It's in for full paint correction, ceramic coating on basically everything. And this trim looked absolutely terrible. Again, from the thumbnail, and I'm sure we'll post some more photos of that. throughout this. This trim, I really was like, wow, this is gonna take a ton of cleaning. So we do need to go through the cleaning aspect. So let's jump into that and talk about how you prep your trim to be ceramic coated. As you can see, this has tons of plastic all the way around it. And you might be saying to yourself, Colton, this looks already perfectly clean, but it does look a little bit dull. Now, again, I have already cleaned all of the trim on here except for a few areas. And I want to show you those areas because I wanted to leave it for you guys to see on video. So if I come underneath here, all of this plastic trim underneath there looked identical up here. Absolutely disgusting. I was really curious to see how it was going to clean up. And it's a very simple process to clean up. And this goes for basically all trim. So just for example, this is really how bad that trim looked. This may be a little bit more extreme because it was on the bottom, but you can see such a massive difference. Again, one of the issues with black plastic trim is that it's extremely porous. What's really nice about it is, of course, these lower areas, you're off-roading your Rivan R1T or R1S, they can get chewed up by rocks. They're a lot cheaper to replace than to repaint something. And it also gives the truck or vehicle a little bit more aggressive, kind of that off-roady look to it. Now, all I've used on this is this 3D orange degreaser. Now, this is a new product that I've been playing around with, just testing it to see how it works. Again, I am purchasing a lot of these products, if not all of them, on this channel that you guys see with my own money to make reviews on to see how they work. And essentially all I've done to this trim is clean it with orange degreaser. Now, you guys need to be careful with citrus cleaning degreasers or any heavy all-purpose cleaners to make sure you are looking at the dilution ratio. This comes concentrated, so you need to make sure you dilute it. Now over here, I have my CarPro dilute bottle. I really like these because of all of the different measurements you can do here on the side. So what it says on the back of this, for light staining, you're gonna use 1:10 ratio. So you're gonna put in this much water and this much product. So you can tell how heavily concentrated this is. And for more aggressive, you go 1:4. So what I've done in here is mixed it about 1:5, give or take. So a little less than full strength on here. Now there's a couple different ways. I'll show you how to do this kind of on that bottom section here in a little bit. Yes, I will have to lay on the floor. My intention was to do it all in one video, but time just got out of hand, so we'll just spot clean one of those. So typically when I do this is when a vehicle comes in for ceramic coating, I'm gonna start by washing the car, then do all my paint correction. Then when I rewash the car is when I focus on all the trim. Now there's a few different ways you can do this, like I said. What I typically do while the car's either right before it's getting washed, it's got all the compound dust all over it, it's really nasty. I'm gonna spray down this trim with my diluted degreaser up here, and I'm gonna go in and agitate it with something like a lug nut brush. That's gonna help lift a lot of that dirt out of all of the plastic trim here and really help cleanse that out. Now this may be a multi-step process. If you are very heavily saturated on dirt here, lots of scrubbing enabled here will really help you. So putting in some elbow grease. But a degreaser like this really gets in there, unclogs the pores, gets the grease, gets all the dirt, gets all the nastiness out of all this to bring the trim back to a good area. And then what I like to do with that is basically rinse it off. Now another way you can do this is essentially doing the same thing, and if you're not rinsing it like we're going to be doing today, is you can essentially wipe it off with a microfiber towel. Makes your life a little bit easier, and it's not necessarily quite as big of a mess here, or if you're not, at the point where you need to rinse and wash everything off. So that's how we're going to be using it here today. Well, this is the first time I have ever been laying on the ground for a YouTube video, but we've got our bottle of dilute here, and you can really see, look at the difference up here, how much cleaner this is and how chalky brown disgusting this is. So this would be the way, if you're not going to be rinsing it off, that I'm going to show you how to do this today. So we're going to spray this down. We're just going to work one panel. And again, this is a 1:5 dilution ratio here. I'm gonna grab my little lug nut brush. Now what I've done with this actually is cut the top of it off. So it's a little bit more stiff bristled. And I'm just gonna come in here and I'm gonna start working this in. You're gonna see this foam up, and you're gonna get this really nasty brown foam coming off of here. Now this stuff is quite strong, this degreaser here, so do work in a well ventilated area if you're using this. But it really, you just have to go in here, put some elbow grease into it. Can see that nasty just froth coming off of here. So if I just take a quick wipe, look at all that grime that's coming off of here. It's insane. So that's just one little panel right there. You can see brand new towel completely filled up with gunk and grime in here. And all we're gonna do is we wanna let this dry, and then we wanna check our work. And once we check our work and know that we've got this completely clean, we can move on to the next section. But hopefully you guys can start seeing what a big difference this looks like compared to completely uncleaned under here. Now, if you do need to clean it a little bit more, what you can do, quickly spray this down once again, and then you can go in with your other side of your towel, a fresh, clean side, and wipe this down. Now you can see we're still getting more stuff off of there, but I would probably say we are looking pretty darn clean. Now, let's talk about the residue left over here from our actual cleanser. Now this is not something that we wanna just coat directly over. We're gonna need a panel prep situation. So let's quickly jump to the top of the truck and talk about that. So now that we've done our major cleaning, now is the prep stage. Now there's a lot of different ways you can do this and a lot of different products for this process. Now a lot of detailers will just use diluted isopropyl alcohol with distilled water or something similar. I personally like to use a dedicated prep solution. The rationale behind that is not only has isopropyl alcohol, but it also has other surfactants that's gonna draw out any of the moisture, polishing residue, any last remaining grease, and importantly, the cleanser that was actually on here. Now, one of my favorites for this is Gtechniq Prep. There are quite literally probably hundreds of these different prep solutions out there. I really like Gtechniq Prep. It is quite expensive, but it seems to get the job done. Now this is used on paint, on trim, on wheels, on glass, whatever it may be. All the surfactants, all the cleaners in here are gonna pull everything out, leaving you with a completely naked surface. So what I do with this is basically on a clean microfiber, spray a little bit on here, spray some onto your trim. The paint's actually already been coated here, and I've already done this, but I just wanted to show you a quick little demonstration on here of how to do it. You want to make sure you get all these little areas on here, flip over, and you're going to dry. Now at this point, this should be quite clean if you've done your cleaning job right. You just want to make sure that the coating has something to physically bond to on here. Now again, my recommendation, go through in these in different steps. So do all of the trim with your orange degreaser, all-purpose cleaner, whatever you need to use on there. If your car is brand new, you're basically just gonna go straight to this. Likely no scrubbing or anything required, but if your car is used like this Rivan R1T was, take some elbow grease. So I would get all of it done and then come back through, do all of the prep stage, and then do the ceramic coating. So when we get to the coating here, we're gonna talk about a few different applicators I recommend, the curing time, and how this whole process goes. We have done our cleaning stage now, we have done our prep stage, now we are into the coating stage. So first off, over here, we're gonna grab our 30 ml coating bottle from DIY Detail. Again, this is one that I purchased on my own after using it one time before and said, wow, I think this could make a very interesting video, and I'm really been impressed with this. So we're gonna do this little section here. Now what I would recommend to you, if you're doing this whole process, do all of the cleaning first. all of the prep second, then coat everything basically at one time. Now with this coating, you're not gonna do the entire truck here and then come back to it and start wiping it away. You're gonna work in smaller sections. So if it were me here, I would work on this one trim piece and use the body lines here to your advantage. Coat this piece, you're gonna wait 2 minutes for your flash time before you need to wipe it and level the coating off. That's gonna give coating time to not only bond to this, but everything come out of the coating. That's when you see it flashing, when you see it rainbowing, sweat beading, whatever it may be. This one's slightly different because it's on trim. It doesn't have that immediate reaction, but it's about 2 minutes time. So me as a professional, if I were doing it, I'd probably do this entire rear bumper at one time, come back on the side that I started, wipe that away. I'll show you this whole process. Now let's jump into applicators here. First off, this is one of my favorite applicators for not only wheels, not only paint, not only windows, but here on plastic trim. These are pretty cool applicators. They're made by Auto Fiber and they're called savers. The whole rationale behind them being a saver is that they have a little hydrophobic barrier here underneath the microfiber. Now inside of here, you can see I can move this. This does have foam in it. Now traditionally, if you don't have that hydrophobic layer, where's your coating going? It's soaking right into the foam. You've got all this wasted product that you're paying quite a bit of money for just sitting in the foam that can't be used. So I really like using these. Now for edges, I like these little applicators. Now there's a bunch of different companies that make these. What I like to do is actually purchase them in a big sheet like this from CarPro and actually cut them out myself. You can see that I do that here. Now, what I traditionally do is in a 4x4 square, and to get these little ridges on it, you can use something like these shears that are specifically made for cutting these. If you want to just purchase these, they are very beneficial. So what I actually do to them, I fold them in quarters, just like any of my detailing towels. And now this gives me a perfect point on here. This point is very good for getting into areas like this without trying to get a ton on the paint. Now, if you do get ceramic coating on this paint, you want to wipe it away pretty much immediately before it cures. So you have about a 2-minute window there, but I would be very diligent about making sure you're not getting any on there. The last little applicator I like is something like a detailing swab. Essentially, pour a little coating on here, helps you in little tiny areas like this, any recessed areas, grills, whatever it may be, and we are ready to go now. So I'm just gonna do this little section here as a demonstration. Now, you do not want to overuse this product. With a ceramic coating, as always, you want to shake it up. Make sure everything in the bottle is not sitting at the bottom. And I'm just going to pour a few drops on here. That's probably way too much there, but we can work it out. Now, see, this is literally black. Now, I'm going to just start to work this in. Sometimes I'll work in a circular motion. It seems to help the product spread out a little bit more. You definitely can work in kind of a crosshatch motion, doing, this type of situation, coming back, doing the other side. So what I like to do is kind of get the big areas here first and then worry about the edges last. But you can already see how nice this trim is already looking. Now, what I would do if you have areas like this, get on the ground afterwards, maybe split that into sections, because like I said, you only have a 2-minute window here. Now I'm going to grab my tiny little applicator. Now this is not going to be completely perfect here, just showing you a demonstration, but I'm going to pour just a few drops here on my applicator. Also should be said, you absolutely need to be wearing gloves with this, of course, because it is a dye. You don't want that on your fingers. So I'm going to work this down here. Just being very diligent not to get it on the paint. The cleaner you can be with this, the better the results are going to turn out. Little areas like this, just get nice and tight up in there. Boom. Now we're going to wait our dedicated 2 minutes once this is up. Now, of course, I didn't get back here. I didn't get totally under here. I totally missed this edge here, but you can see what it actually does to my gloves here. Now you just want to look at this and make sure if you didn't miss any areas. I'm noticing here, just because of wiping it, I just want to kind of fill this in a little bit more. May need a little bit more product, but we're going to let this sit for 2 minutes, probably about 1.5 minutes now. Then we're going to come back in with a fresh, clean towel, wipe it away, and that's fully protected.
A few minutes later.
So we've now waited our 2 minutes since we've coated this. I'm gonna come back in with a fresh, clean towel here and just start working. Now, I will say that this coating is a little bit more grabby than traditional coatings that I've used, like Gtechniq C4 Permanent Trim Restore. Is that a huge negative? No, but you're gonna see quite a bit of that dye coming back off into here. Now, that's not a big deal. You just want to make sure that you're kind of leveling this out, and then you just leave it alone. You don't need to go crazy with this. You don't need to get everything off, but let me show you a nice 50-50 here. The thing that I really like about this coating and what really drew me to this, the trim doesn't look overly shiny, right? It just looks nice, it looks even, it looks natural. You couldn't even tell that this is coated. It just looks perfectly even, and I very, very much like that about this coating. And I will say, you know, compared to Gtechniq Permanent Trim Restorer, this is a pretty easy process to do. Now, my only negative would be a little bit of the black dye. It does make it a little bit more messy, but I think on something that you really are trying to restore, it's gonna help you out quite a bit more. I'm gonna bring you guys in a little bit closer so we can see how this looks. Now you can see, of course, I haven't done this area up here. And look at the 50-50 in between that. This looks dull and dry. This just looks coated and perfectly even, which is exactly what we're going for. I don't like having trim or tires or anything for that matter other than paint and windows super shiny and glossy. This just needs to look even, it needs to look cohesive, and I'm very impressed with the finished DIY detail restore and protect leaves on plastic trim. You can see this area back here, of course, I haven't done. Look how dry and chalky this looks compared to this. You can see a massive difference. Now there are other ceramic coatings, even Gtechniq C4 Permanent Trim Restore, that do look maybe a little bit more rich than this, but I think this is a perfect in between. So absolutely, I could say you could use this on a new car, but I would really say with that added dye in there, it's probably best to use it on something that's used, that's been weathered a bit. But what I'm gonna do next, guys, is do all of the trim around the truck here. All the areas, the tonneau cover, basically all of this plastic up here, everything is going to get coated, and I'll pick up for the end of the video when I've got all of this done and you can see what the final results actually look like.
A few moments later.
So I just spent the last 45 minutes to an hour, give or take here, coating all of the lower black plastic trim, and I gotta say, it came out fantastic, especially considering how this truck looked when it pulled up. Hopefully we can have Max throw up a little bit of a clip here or a photo of how it looked before, and it just looks so silky smooth. One of the biggest impressions I have from this product is how natural and even it looks. It doesn't look overly dressed. It's not sticky. It's not shiny. I'm really impressed with how it looks. It just looks so even. Even areas under here that I've coated all the way underneath the truck. This area back here, which we cleaned and then coated, just look absolutely perfect. So I'm really thrilled with that. Now this wouldn't be a full review if I didn't have some pros and some cons. So let's first off start with the pros of the product. So pros, it looks fantastic. Really impressed with how it looks. I also think the price point is very reasonable for this. You know, $59.99 a bottle here, I think is pretty reasonable. One of the best things about this is it really goes a long way. I find with, you know, Gtechniq C4 Permanent Trim Restore, average on a Rivian, if I'm doing all of the black plastic trim, the grills, all this area underneath front trunk, you know, the whole tonneau cover top area, I'm gonna go through about 1.5 bottles, where I think realistically, 3/4 of a bottle of this for it. So you are saving a little bit of money. Now, the dye in here, I think is an interesting proposition. I think it does a lot. It also kind of really moisturizes, or maybe that's not the right word, but it feels like it moisturizes the trim. Yeah, we'll go ahead and go with that. Now comes to the negatives. Negatives, I would say, for this product, this is the messiest trim install I have done, bar none. By far, it's a long, long shot. You can just see my detailing cart here. I had a towel laid out for it. And speaking of towels, this is what it does to towels at the end. Now, of course, you're not going to reuse this, but what I want you to notice is a lot of the drips on this. So you can see areas where like the bottle was sitting on here, and really this comes down to one kind of critical problem I have with these bottles, and that is actually the pour spout on them. So if I open this up, this is a dead bottle. You basically it just dumps out just like that. And then what happens if you have a lot of it, it just drips down the side. Now, the issue with that is this. And when you're installing it with gloves on, hopefully you're doing this with gloves on, it goes absolutely everywhere. It is just a mess of a product to use. It gets all over the detailing cart. It gets all over your gloves. Every single thing that you're touching, you're now dyeing slightly black. So I would say one of the negatives with this is, you know, if I have to open up a door handle to get in an area like this, like you have to be very conscious. You have to wipe your hands down. Now, with a traditional ceramic coating, you're going to get ceramic coating on your hands. You can put that on the paint and areas like that as well, and it can become quite annoying. But this was just overly annoying, I would say. So I like a lot of the benefits of this product. I think it's really interesting to use, but I have to be totally honest. This is not going to be a product that I use on every vehicle. I feel like the process took me way longer because I kept having to literally clean myself, clean my gloves, especially when I was working on areas like this lower area on the truck here. I was on the ground and I'm pouring it onto the applicator and it's dripping all over me. It's dripping all over the floor. I'm having to grab separate towels just to wipe my gloves down, then to wipe the floor down. It's just an absolute mess of a product, not only because of the dye, but the pour spouts in here are no bueno for me. So I would say that's a little bit of a negative. Now, I'm sure you're wondering, okay, why did you make a video on doing trim restoration and then do a review in it? Well, I thought this would be the perfect example because this truck came in absolutely hammered here, and I said, let's try out a new product because I think it could be an interesting video and we can do a review at the same time. So my review of this product, I like the results. I don't like the application. It's just far too messy. It's all over my detailing cart here. You can just see on the applicator, all of the side stuff here and drips and everything back here are just from your gloves because there's so much dye going everywhere. I almost wish I would have filmed the whole process because I was just swapping gloves out every couple of minutes. I think I used 6 or 7 different gloves, 6 or 7 different towels, where I would really normally with C4 permanent trim restorer use 1 glove, use probably 2, maybe 3 towels, do the entire truck, done. Now, I will say one of my other negatives with this product is the cure time. It's too quick, especially when you have something like this Rivan that you're having to do larger panels. I felt like I was just rushed the whole time. Like I would get this portion installed here, start on the next one, I'd come back here and it was just too grabby. Now it may be today it's a little bit humid, it's pretty hot here in the shop, but I like a coating that has, well, I say this, I like trim coatings that have a longer work time. I like paint coatings that have a very short flash time on them. So I literally apply, wipe off. Gtechniq Infinite Base Type 1, Gtechniq Mohs is what I use for paint coatings. They literally flash within 3 to 4 seconds. They're chemically bonded to the paint. Within 15 to 30 seconds, they can come off. I really like that for paint, but I don't like it for trim. It's just too quick of a working time, in my opinion. So I would say, where does this product sit for me? This product will live in my detailing arsenal. It will live there only for used vehicles that really need it. This is not going to be a product I'm going to apply on new cars. I'm sorry, but I'm not going to deal with this every single time that I have a Rivian come in. I have a Tesla Model Y, Model X, cars that have a good amount of trim on them. It's just too messy of a process. I also think intricate areas like this, it's going to be a disaster trying to do it. So these areas like the grill, these very intricate trim areas in here, underneath the front trunk and the whole back hatch, I'm just going to do with my traditional C4 permanent trim restore. It's not super faded like the side was. And I think I'm going to have better results with that. So I do think this product has a use. I think the use is very annoying to use, to be totally transparent and honest with you. But I do think if you have really, really bad looking plastics, this is really the product to go for. But I do think a lot of, especially, you know, DIY detail being DIY focus, I think a lot of people are going to struggle with this product. I struggled with it myself. You know, I've done a few test areas on a few other vehicles, and I was like, wow, this product looks nice. But when I was really in the swing of things, just hammering the work out like I normally do, I just found myself cleaning myself way too much. It's just a messy product, and I really don't know if there's another way around it. I understand the dye is part of that, but I also think a lot of it has to do really just with that pour spout. So I like the product. I don't love it. It's going to stay in my detailing arsenal, but it's not going to be something that I use on a daily basis. So thanks so much for watching another out of spec detailing video here from Clear Detailing in Northern Colorado. If you have any questions, comments, I guess concerns, I try to read a lot of the comments. Some of them I just kind of laugh at, you know how that goes with YouTube, but I'll be looking forward to answering some of your questions. If you're interested in getting a vehicle like your new Rivian R1T or your used one or anything in between, definitely head over to cleardetailing.com. There'll be a link in the description below, which I will be personally detailing your car. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you on another one soon. Bye-bye.